No sé, antes está la maneta. Interview. Sorry, interview.
Non mi rispondono della regia.
Chi è?
Siamo già pronti, Flavia?
Both in the picture.
So we start.
So I think we can be the three of us in the picture.
Yes, the three of us.
So I think if we do like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I look at him or you?
You look at me. And I think actually, because I think I stick to Stefan first.
So we
Yep.
switch.
And then we stay in a kind of like a U shape, because then I can go like this and like this.
Ci siamo? English, right?
We're not live yet. As soon as they go live, we'll do this as the first interview.
Va bene.
Piglio MC?
Attaccato, ti do la scorta?
Lo tengo io?
Sì, grazie.
Ah no, aspetta.
Parliamo inglese, no? Sì.
Inglese.
Sì, siamo giusti.
Piglio MC? Piglio MC?
This way. Just a little bit, yeah, perfect.
Non mi rispondono. Piglio MC, per favore, podeu contestar algú de la regia?
Que te oyen, pero tú no los oyes
No.
a ellos.
L'avete attaccato?
Vale, ahora sí. Comenzarem amb l'entrevista de Winkelmann i Meyers. Vale?
Va bene, sai.
Tan ràpid com pugueu, que ja m'està preguntant. No em sentiu? Vale. Vale, perfecte.
Il weekend.
Vale. Pillo tan ràpid com pugueu vindre a aquesta entrevista que m'estan posant pressió de...
We're getting ready for race 2 of the day here at the Algarve circuit outside Portimao, and it is going to be race 1 of the weekend in the Lamborghini Grand Finals for the pros and the Pro-Ams. We have had the Am and Lamborghini Cup opening race won by Andrzej Lewandowski, and so the grid is now formed, ready for what promises to be an absolutely enthralling race with some very impressive drivers on this grid. David Addison, trackside, Marietta Evans down on the grid, and I'm joined by Lamborghini factory driver Marco Mappelli. I say it's going to be a fascinating race. We have got some very quick drivers on this grid, Marco.
I'm really looking forward to watch the race, honestly. Really, every time I watch the World Final or the Grand Final, it's really cool to see how American and European guys and team, fight together. So I'm really looking forward.
Before we go racing, we're going to go to the grid. Let's join Marietta Evans.
I'm absolutely delighted to be joined on the grid by Stefan Winkelmann, CEO and President of Lamborghini, and Deborah Meyers, project founder of Idon Dames. Stefan, a new venue for the Grand Finals, a huge grid full of cars, plenty to celebrate. How pleased are you with this weekend?
It's our World Final of the Super Trofeo, so we are very pleased because we have 65 cars on the grid, and we have one team of only ladies, which is from Idon Dames, and this is making us very proud, and the weekend is perfect because we have a beautiful weather and all is very well working out.
And Deborah, it's fantastic to see the Idun Dames this weekend here. And yesterday, I think, fair to say, a very successful day.
An amazing day for us. It's a true pleasure and an honor to be here, to participate and race here during the grand final of Lamborghini. And we look forward to the future.
Fantastic. Deborah, Stefan, thank you very much. Have a great race.
Thank you.
Let's just pick up on that Iron Dames aspect, because they're new to the championship. They've won the Gold Cup in the Spa 24 Hours, and Dorian Pin has won the Ferrari Challenge. But yesterday she got pole position in her first qualifying session for Lamborghini Super Trofeo. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female or how experienced you are, to come into any new car, new championship, and take pole position. That's very, very impressive.
It is really impressive. They are really quick. They get gripped with the car so quickly that everybody was outstanding about their performance, and they are driving really well. It's not easy when you drive something else and you jump, especially in such a specific car, because it's a one mark championship. Everybody's driving this championship since years, and go there and already being close to the leaders and then beat them suddenly. It's honestly it's cool. It's really impressive.
The man on pole position is their ex-Grand Prix driver, Nelson Piquet. This gives you an idea of the level we're operating at here. Grand Prix driver, Formula E champion, A1 GP race winner, Lamborghini Super Trofeo race winner, rally crosser, sports car racer, GT racer, Formula 3 champion. There's not much Nelson Piquet hasn't driven. But alongside him is Loris Spinelli, who is the man to beat, in a sense, in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He's had 9 wins in Europe this year, and he's had a further 4 in the North American Championship. Loris Spinelli really is the go-to Super Trofeo co-driver, isn't he?
He's the benchmark for everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's the benchmark for every team. He's the benchmark for every driver who wants to fight and try to win this championship. His experience, his level of driving, how he drives this car, how he understands how to manage also the tires during the stint and during qualifying, is definitely the benchmark for everybody.
You just see Matteo Moretti, who will start 3rd on the grid. Karol Bash, the Polish driver, is going to start 4th. Karol Bash, who was the winner of the World Final last year, along with Mattia Michelotto. A very impressive driver, Karol Bash, the Pole. He was good at the FIA Motorsport Games last weekend, for example. Then you've got Edoardo Liberati, who's a man with lots of championship wins behind him in single-seaters and GT cars. So it's, again, a high-quality grid, this.
It's very high quality, and the grip has been changed a lot because due to the track limits, as we said before at the beginning of of the racing, that the track limits has changed a lot how is the real performance, because at the end, if you make mistake, you pay for it. So that's why you see, for example, Patrick Ujala or Dorian Penn, who was really quick at the moment, a little bit forward, but it will be also fun to see these drivers climb back to the top positions.
Absolutely right. Lots of people lost times because of track limits. Patrick Ujala starts last on the grid. Well, he's a previous champion. Dorian Penn will start on the 11th row, and on the 13th row, Danny Formal, wwho, of course, along with Carl Marcelli, is the North American champion. Now, this, as the cars make their way through turn 1, is the first element of that 3-part opening sequence, right, and then the hairpin right, and it's going to be Nelson Piquet on pole position with Loris Spinelli alongside him, Matteo Moretti, Karol Bash, row 2, Edoardo Liberati and Gianno Taurino, impressive young driver, the South African for the American Championship, row 3, Stefan Tribodini, and the Brit Lewis Williamson, the European Pro-Am champion, on row 4, John Dubet, the American Pro-Am champion, lining up alongside Pierre-Louis Chauvet on row 5, Billy Johnson is on row 6, and alongside him it is going to be Thomas Long, who we've already seen out, incidentally, in the AM and Lamborghini Cup race. So Piquet and Spinelli on the front row, that's going to be quite a battle. Matteo Moretti, a race winner in the European Championship, Karol Bash, winner last year of the World Finals when we were at Misano, ahead of Edoardo Liberati and Gianno Taurino. He's going to be interesting here because normally Taurino shares with Loris Spinelli, but Spinelli can't share 2 cars. Stefan Tribodini next, then Lewis Williamson, who's been racing a Mercedes AMG in the British GT Championship as well this year. John Dubet, winner of the North American Pro-Am contest yesterday. Pierre-Louis Chauvet hasn't done the European races this weekend, but he's going to do the World Final pair of races ahead of Billy Johnson, and then Thomas Long sharing with the American female driver Ashton Harrison. Luke Barkley goes solo, no Richard Antonucci, unlike yesterday. Aidan Yoda is next. Then Amaury Bonduel, a long way back, but now we're into the realms of track limits here. So he's been a double race winner this year. Dan Wells, the quick Brit alongside him. Emanuele Zonzini has been a winner in Pro-Am in Europe, and alongside Zonzini is Milan Petele, who's also had a win. Then it's Robert Vandenberg ahead of Pietro Perolini. Next up, Cam Sebastian Carrozzo, runner-up in the American Pro-Am Championship. Dorian Pin alongside, ahead of MotoGP star Dani Pedrosa, and then David Serban, the Romanian driver. Jean-Francois Bruno is next, then Danny Formal with a lot of work to do. The Costa Rican driver. Behind him, you've got Gerhard Watzinger and then Damon Oki. And to round out the grid is Patrick Cuéllar. Gosh, he's got a lot of work to do from flat last on the grid. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough because here everybody's level is higher, everybody's fight higher. So I think Patrick has got a lot of job to do, but he's capable of doing this stuff. So we will see nice fights from him.
I think you're absolutely right in saying that. And as the cars make their way, they're now out of turn 15, rolling start, so they don't stop on the grid. They will accelerate their way up towards the start line, which is midway down the pit straight. And when the race director is happy, he will give the indication that the lights can change. Piquet in the red car, Spinelli in the yellow nose car. We go racing. Piquet gets the lead. Loris Spinelli slots in behind him as they go down towards turn 1. On the outside line is Carol Bash in the red car, being crowded up onto the curb, but he keeps on coming right round the outside there. Piquet will take the lead. Carol Bash goes off the road as he tries to get ahead of Marzio Moretti. Back onto the racetrack, dives up the inside of Spinelli to go second. Great move that by Carol Bash. Brilliant stuff.
This is a really great move really brave move from Carol Bash to overtake 2 cars in front of him. So let's see how Spinelli and Marzio will, reply on this.
Yeah, you don't often overtake Loris Spinelli, but Carol Bash has mastered it as they come down through turn 5. It's really tight hairpin. 1 or 2 being late on the brakes, but so far we've got away without contact. A few get forced out wide, but they have all survived as they make the climb now through the kink at 6. And then into turn 7, as you see Gianno Tarino running out wide. And he's going to lose a place there to Lewis Williamson in the Oregon car, the familiar multicolours of Oregon with the purple nose, the yellow and the green. And here, as you accelerate up towards the approach to turn 9, is the view. Hard on the brakes, drop downhill. So Lewis Williamson is on the attack, and the race leader then trying to build the advantage. Nelson Piquet, who did have a win yesterday, but not on the road. He's had 2 wins in the North American Championship and inherited both of them with cars ahead of him being given penalties, and he would really like not only to win the World Final, but to do it, or the Grand Final, I should say, but to do it by taking the checkered flag first. So the cars making their way up towards the end of lap number 1. Battle is on here. Gianno Tarino versus Lewis Williamson. So that's North American Championship runner versus European. Very wide indeed went Tarino. Lewis Williamson then right up behind them as they come across the line, but it is Piquet leading by a second at the end of lap 1. And also on a mission, Edoardo Liberati.
Yeah, we see a lot of fights between drivers in this first lap, and it's really cool and it's really nice to watch. And obviously Piquet doesn't need any presentation, and I think he's trying to push us out as much as possible.
But, sorry, big drama, I was going to say, for the American champions, because at the end of lap 1, down the pit lane comes Danny Formal, so he was a long way back on the grid anyway after penalties from qualifying, but it looks like he's got caught up in an incident, and this effectively ruins any chance of winning the Grand Final.
Exactly. Now we see that Spinelli overtook Paz, so he's in second position and he's trying to close the gap to Piquet.
And also Williamson has got ahead of Tarino. We saw that at turn 1, and Williamson straight away is up with Edoardo Liberati. As they're going through is number 78 of Emanuele Zonzini, Billy Johnson, 171, the American driver then, making his way over the brow. Great noise these cars make.
Yeah, we can see the onboard from the Iron Dames, the Iron Lynx car, and you see how small the Dorian is and how close he drives to the steering wheel, and it's cool to see how big he goes.
And of course that's another car fighting up the order, and 21st at the start of the lap was Dorian Pin, so still pushing hard. Riding on board with her, she runs in that pro class. Michelle Gatting will do the second stint. of Robert Vandenberg just up the road ahead. So there is the familiar pink colours of the Iron Dames. They came oh so close to winning the Gold Cup within the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. They won the Gold Cup in the Spa 24 Hours, which was an amazing achievement. Now, Loris Spinelli, fastest lap of the race, and he's brought the gap down. He's halved the gap to Piquet. Look at this, they're nose to tail. Loris Spinelli now is on a mission.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, he's on a mission. He wants to prove that how quick he is, and then how we all see quick he is. So we will see a good fight.
But also, as he makes a thought a dive to the inside, thought better of it, but he feinted to the inside. I was about to suggest that he needs to get on with this because he is quicker than his co-driver Max Weering. So again, he has got to try to build up an advantage. Rejoining there after a spin, Robert Vandenberg. But yeah, Spinelli's got to push, hasn't he?
Yes.
No question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely no question, because the teammate is a little bit slower, so he needs to build some gap also.
Trouble is, he hasn't yet been able to dislodge Nelson Piquet. So there are the top two. But Loris Spinelli, the fact that he's caught up so easily proves that he's got the pace. Now he's got to think about the best opportunity to overtake. And where is the best place to overtake around here?
It's difficult. Usually, especially when you have to overtake somebody like Nelson Piquet Jr. is not so easy to find the right gap.
Piquet goes a little wide there, doesn't he, coming out of turn 14. Loris Spinelli couldn't quite get up the inside, but he's crawling all over the back of him as they come to turn 15 now, up towards the completion of the lap at 3, and as they break the timing beam now, then over the line goes Piquet, goes Spinelli. It was half a second, it's down to 0.3 of a second. Loris Spinelli not close enough quite to dive out at the end of the pit straight, and Marco has already said in previous races that it's a hard corner to overtake at turn 1. So Spinelli right there on the tail of Piquet, applying pressure now as well.
Yeah, I think he's trying to stay as close as possible and use of his advantage any mistake that may come from Nelson Piquet.
And Piquet covers off the inside. Spinelli goes to the outside, brakes really, really late, can't go around the outside of him. And nor can he get the undercut coming out of the corner, but that really was a brave effort by Loris Spinelli.
Yes, it was really, really brave, a little bit optimistic, because on the outside of the hairpin, so narrow, so tight hairpin is difficult, but he will not give up at all.
No, and we've made the point, Spinelli knows the point, he has got to be in the lead of this race to give Max Weering, his co-driver, a chance of winning the race. They've won the European Championship together, 9 wins out of 12 races, which is quite something. And now as they drop downhill out of turn 10, can't really find a way through there, climb the hill the other side. Piquet fending off Spinelli, who again darts to the inside, but just not quite enough of a gap.
Yeah, you see that he's closing the gap, especially on braking point, so it means that it's really pushing hard to find the gap and to force Piquet to watch the mirror every time he approaches the corner. And this obviously, you can see also Butz is closing a little bit the gap.
Yeah, Karel Busch having dropped back after being in second place, coming back at the top 2. Now, yesterday, Loris Spinelli lost a win in the North American opening race for exceeding track limits. He was a bit wide there, coming out of the last corner as well.
Yeah, you see, especially when you follow the other cars so close, you have a little bit of wash from the downforce, so you have a little bit more understeer. So you need to be careful, because staying so close for such a long time, also the front tires suffer.
So Loris Spinelli there for more and more reasons to get through quickly and then try and pull away going into the pit stops. Now bear in mind as well, as he again looks to the inside down to turn 5, still can't find that gap. Nelson Piquet drives on his own, so it's a slightly longer pit stop, but of course it'll be easier for him to get up to speed in the second stint.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially somebody with his experience, he will be straight on the pace.
For sure. So Loris Spinelli will give way to the Dutch driver Max Weering, the ever-cheerful Max Weering, who's had a very successful year with Loris Spinelli. They teamed up at the back end of last season, and it was a good partnership, and it's been perpetuated through this season as well. Out of turn 10, drop downhill. Gap was 0.4 at the start of the lap. So Loris Spinelli, for the moment, a little bit stuck. He's done the catching, but he can't find a way past.
It's difficult. It's really difficult, but it's really cool to watch, honestly.
But he couldn't be much closer, could he? Look at this, for the race lead, absolutely no to tell. Again, Spinelli tightens the line, 2 wheels up the curb, but Piquet just able to get the drive off the corner and therefore stay ahead as they come into turn 15 now. This brings them onto the pit straight. Piquet goes wide, Spinelli goes wider onto the green, and now over the timing line. Last time around it was 4/10, it's still 4/10, gone up by fractions. Carol Bash runs third, Marzio Moretti fourth, Eduardo Liberati fifth, Lewis Williamson sixth, Stefan Tribodini seventh, Gianna Torino is eighth, Tom Long is ninth, and Pierre-Louis Chauvet is in 10th place right now. Carol Bash, bearing in mind, third, but that's the leading Pro-Am entry as the cars come storming over the line.
Yes, you see that now the previous lap that they didn't fight, they opened the gap a little bit again with the rest of the field, and for sure, if I'm not wrong, I think Loris will wait a couple of laps and then try again.
Just give the tyres a breather perhaps as well, and get back into some coolish air, clear air, but it's not for long before he's back on the tail of Piquet, because again, as long as he's behind, he's not helping Max Wearing by building a gap. So Spinelli starts to push once again, out of turn 8 now, over the brow. 1 or 2 gravelly stones on the road there, which have been dragged onto the circuit from a busy Am and Lamborghini Cup race, and Spinelli's car dancing around behind. He thinks about the inside line at turn 10. Everywhere he's trying to unsettle Piquet.
It's really high level of racing these two are making in the race, so it's, we are really happy that this is also happening in our championship.
For sure. So Loris Spinelli, who's, as we've been saying, the real master of these cars, again tries to commit to the inside line and just able to fend him off his Piquet. But for how much longer? Spinelli, we've talked about working his tyres hard, but so is Piquet by having to really fight to keep this race lead up towards the timing line. Piquet will know that Spinelli is that bit quicker than Wearing. Spinelli's quicker than most people in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo grid, and over the timing line they go 0.3 of a second is that margin. In third place, a further 3 seconds back, is Carol Bash, and again Spinelli up the curb at turn 1.
Yeah, they are really quick. They also, their driving try to be clean without track limit, so it's a really nice fight, and I guess he's going to try everything before the pit stop.
Exactly right, because Piquet will be quicker than Wearing. Spinelli again thinks about the inside, but Piquet goes wide, and that gives Spinelli a chance to challenge on the inside line up to turn 6. He's got his nose in front, but then the road will come back to Piquet. He's got the inside line for the next corner. Spinelli hung out to dry on the outside. He keeps on coming. They're absolutely together. He's still on the outside line, but he's surely going to have to give way. He's up the curb, and yes, he does have to slot back in behind Piquet, but that was Spinelli's first really serious chance at challenging. Comes over the brow, drops downhill, looks to the inside line, still can't do it, but Piquet goes wide. Now Spinelli challenges, but he's on the outside line for the next corner. Keeps on coming, goes round the outside. He's got his nose in front. Piquet on the inside line. Spinelli right round the outside. Brilliant racing, and Loris Spinelli has done it. There he is, new race leader, and he worked hard for that.
Yep, he did a really nice overtake. Honestly, it was a brave move, and I guess he will take some gap now.
Yeah. Whoa. So Loris Spinelli has pushed for 7 laps to do that, and he's done it. So over the timing line he goes, and straight away, look at the way that he's starting to pull away. He's already 0.8 of a second up, and he only got the lead, what, 2 corners ago?
Yeah, as soon as you take the lead, you want to push as much as possible to give also a shock to your, to, especially in this case, Piquet.
So Spinelli, car stationary, and that is the Jean-Francois Bruno and Kerong Lee Lippert car. Let's quickly go to the pit lane, because Marietta has news from the Precision Performance Motorsports entry of John Dubetz and Bryson Liu.
Well, let's recap some of the events from yesterday first, because yesterday I told this man it's not over until it's over, and despite all of the drama, you guys did win the Pro-Am title.
Yeah, it was a really surreal moment. I mean, I want to thank Precision Performance, the dealership, Lamborghini Palm Beach, Ideal Nutrition, HCB Yachts, everyone that supports us. Thank you for bringing us to the point that we won the championship. So, I mean, it was a great race. We kept it clean and consistent. And, I mean, we had a clean start, and my co-driver did a great job with the car. So, yeah.
And how are you now preparing for when you get into the car next?
I'm just focusing on when I get into the car, having clean laps and gaining positions, because we're now sitting 4th in class. So focusing on the cars ahead and the task at hand.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a safety car because Jean-Francois Bruneau's car, as you can see, is stranded and the race director wants it moving. So safety car deployed. Bryson Liu, you've just heard from, the 19-year-old American, part of Lamborghini's Young Driver program. There's the safety car. This is very bad news for Loris Spinelli, isn't it?
It is. You're right. It is a very bad news because his plan was going in the right direction, but then, as I said before, this is racing.
This is going to be the phrase of the weekend, isn't it? This is racing. This is, I'm afraid to say, what happens with safety car situations and when you have a driver desperately trying to push on. And bad news here for the Iron Dames, because that car is in the pit box. That looks like it's the race over.
Yeah, it's a bit. I think they had contact. Obviously, when you started from the back, it's easy to fight and to make contact. This is the sport.
Yeah.
But I think tomorrow they will come back with a bit more anger, and they will show how quick these girls are.
The contact that car made is under investigation. It made contact with 101, Carl Marcelli and Danny Formal's car, the North American champion
we saw
in the pit.
In the pit, yeah.
Yeah, so that sort of finishes that story. And big disappointment for the Iron Dames. So the AM and Lamborghini Cup race had a safety car, and then later another one, and ultimately was red flagged because it was going to take too long to clear up an incident. Let's hope we don't have another safety car period here. 27 going through, Lewis Williamson. He with Massimo Ciglia, the winner of Pro-Am in the European Championship this year. He's on his last warning for track limit offences. Well, we've barely had 15 minutes of racing, so he's been abusing them a lot very early.
Yeah, for sure he wants to gain. Probably he's not on the pace as the driver in front, so he's trying to gain as maximum as possible. But of course, the race director is always watching the track limit, so he's not having fun of it, for sure. We would prefer not to watch, but these are the rules, so all the drivers must respect this.
It's one of the big frustrations, must be for you as a driver as much as a fan watching or us broadcasting on it, but we constantly have these penalties being applied for track limits, but it's a feature of a modern circuit where you have these tarmac runoff areas. But the alternative is gravel traps very close to the edge of the road, and if a car goes there, the race is interrupted by a safety car. So there isn't really an ideal solution, I don't think, is there?
Yes, honestly, there is no ideal solution, because if you go to US, there are no runaway tarmac. You have only the gravel or the grass. Here it's different, Asian different, you know. So this is how the sport is developing. It's towards the safety, and the safety obviously can be strange sometimes or boring, but safety comes first every time.
Look at a street circuit, take Macau as an example, where there's no runoff and there's always interruptions or red flags because you've got the walls and people go off. Yeah,
exactly.
So there, and this actually is a car benefiting from the safety car procedure, is Danny Formal. He's trying to catch up, but he's still got a lot of ground to make up, and the safety car will be in this lap. But Danny Formal has got to push now to get onto the back of the queue. Crucially, though, he is on the lead lap.
Yeah, I think they didn't lost a lap, so if he can get, I think he will get back to the group. They have a chance to gain some places again.
We talk about, obviously, the overall places, but it's points within your class. So it's the top 10 in each of the two categories, Pro and Pro-Am. And after this brief interlude, Loris Spinelli gets ready to go again. But, of course, we're only a couple of minutes away, really, from the pit window opening. So he will stay out for as long as he possibly can.
I believe so. I believe so. And I guess, maybe I'm wrong, but I guess Piquet will do the opposite. So we'll stop immediately.
Yeah.
And have a clear track to drive.
So potentially we're going to have, depending on where they are in now, we are going to have one racing lap before the pit window opens, aren't we? Because a flying lap is 1 minute and 42, and so we are just over a lap time away from the pit lane opening. So they'll do one racing lap.
They
and
will
then
do one racing lap and then the pit window open.
It's open indeed, yeah. So even though it's a short race and it's only a 10-minute window, working out when to make that pit stop is still part of the race, isn't it?
It's still part of the race, still part of the strategy, and you can win or lose places or race with it.
It may not be as complex as a 24-hour race, but bringing the car in at the right time and getting the whole pit stop process correct, not speeding, not being under the regulation time, it all matters. We go green, we go racing, and Loris Spinelli, with his heavy right foot planted on the accelerator, storms over the line. 0.6 of a second to the good with Nelson Piquet second, Carol Bash third, Marzio Moretti fourth, Edoardo Liberati fifth, Lewis Williamson is sixth, with Stefan Tribodini there in the white car right up behind him, then Gianno Tarino ahead of Thomas Long and Pierre-Louis Chauvet. So Spinelli is going to have to really go for it. Now, totally clear road ahead. There's no danger of him catching back markers because they've all caught the queue. He's just got to go flat out.
I think now is the time to push and do qualifying laps, after qualifying laps, to gain as much time as possible.
Well, he has been a busy man doing races in the European and North American series. So he did 4 races yesterday and took a brace of wins. And right now, he's on a mission in order to try and get a good result out of the opening part of the Grand Finals this weekend for him and for Max Wearing. There, 188, Gianno Tarino right on the tail of Stefan Tribodini. So Tarino comes over the brow of the hill, single-seater racer turned sports car racer back in America, having his first European foray, and has gone well this weekend, and of course has gained hugely from having Loris Spinelli as his co-driver within the North American Championship and learning a great deal from him.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's really interesting, especially because after safety car they are all collected again, so we can see other fights in the next 4 or 5 laps.
Now the penalties are already coming. Lewis Williamson, number 27, is being given a 5-second penalty, and Dan Wells, 51, is being given a 5-second penalty for track limit abuses. The pit window is open. And the other car I was going to mention just quickly was Patrick Kujala from Lars von der Brink. He's up into 15th place, the Flying Finn. And there down the pit lane comes then Edoardo Liberati. So 127 comes in, and
Kujala comes in. Bonduel comes in also, yes.
Get the stops out of the way. Liberati gives way to Dario Capitanio. There is Amaury Bonduel, who swings across to the team. Car controller with the board. Just drops the board on the car. You're going nowhere. Tyre pressure's checked. Liberati's arrived at his pit box. Dario Capitanio, who again does much of his racing in America, runs round. Cushions fly. 147 is in as well, which again for the American Championship is Sebastian Carrozza to give way to Brian Ortiz.
Yeah, you have the right time to make it properly, but obviously you have no time to lose or to make mistake. This is the key when you do this kind of pit stop.
Andrea Caldarelli overseeing all of that in the background as Lamborghini young driver David Serban gets ready to go. So the race continues. Loris Spinelli staying out, trying to build his lead. Serban fires up the engine. And on instruction, will set off down the pit lane so that he trips the beam just after the 97 seconds. 97 and a tenth, or 1,000, if you can be so precise. Spinelli then using the curb. There is a car being driven absolutely as fast as it will go.
As fast as it will go, but as you see, now probably we'll get a little bit of traffic maybe, because all the cars are doing the pit stop, and maybe it can come out with all the other cars in the pit stop. We see.
Carol Bash, third on the road, 5-second penalty at the end of the race for track limits. So we didn't have this really in the AM Lamborghini Cup race, but we are for the pros. They're exceeding track limits far more regularly.
Yeah, of course, they try to push and not lose time, and this suddenly happen quite often.
So there, coming down the pit lane, is 125, which is Tom Long to give way to Ashton Harrison, who's going to call time on her Super Trofeo career after this weekend, having raced in the Acura in America this year, for example, with Mario Farnbacher, and is strapped into the car. fascinating to see what goes on as there Gianna Tarino has to battle against Anne-Marie Bonduel. Now there is an example of a car Bonduel just left the pits and a driver on the lead lap being delayed.
Exactly. This is what happened when you know this kind of pit stop happens, and the team has to understand if it's better now to stop and do the pit stop, or you want to keep going.
You've been in this situation in long distance races where the car ahead of you is a lap down, but he's on your pace. It must be massively frustrating.
It is, yeah, it is. Or the opposite, it just came up, yeah. And maybe you are at the end of the stint with all tires, and it's difficult to overtake, especially when they have the peak of the tires at the beginning of the stint.
But both drivers there want to be flat out. One is trying to come back after the pit stop, one is still in that opening stint, but you know, neither want to compromise. So to ask Bonduel to give way because he's notionally a lap down is not going to happen. There is Spinelli, who is now 3.5 seconds clear. Confirmation of Dan Wells' penalty for track limits, the British driver. And there is Spinelli, going back to what Marco Mappelli was saying a little while ago, encountering traffic, and so the lap times are going to be affected by that.
Yeah, for sure he will overtake quickly, but even that is not like having clear track.
So he's just gone ahead of number 6, which was started by Stéphane Tribodini, which is now being driven by Jean-Luc Daria. Spinelli goes through. It's a really exciting driving style that Loris Spinelli has. You can almost hear the car cry, can't you? Because he's got hold of it and he's shaking
crying.
it.
We know he's crying. He's crying because it's really key. He's really pushing the maximum out of these cars, and he, as you said before, he's the master of this championship.
It's a surprise in a way that Loris Spinelli hasn't been picked up to go on to a GT3 program by people. He does occasional races, but never seems to be able to put himself in that environment permanently. That's Carol Bash, 5-second penalty at the end of the race, leading Pro-Am, but of course the penalty is going to really have an effect later on.
Yeah, especially because you have to be careful and not keep making mistakes with the track limit, because the 5 second they can you know, go 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
Piquet in. So this is Nelson Piquet, who will have to do a longer stop. Solo driver means 97 seconds. Down the pit lane he comes. And so the Hansa Motorsports entry, Nelson Piquet, who did drive in the championship last year. We didn't see him in the World Finals weekend, but it's great to have him here this season. Slowly makes his way down to his pit box, right at the far end. So it's a long drive down, but the good news is that when he's allowed back into the race, he can virtually accelerate straight back into the race.
Exactly.
So the car stops, and there he sits for just over a minute and a half. Waiting. Another penalty. Gianna Tarino now, 188, 5-second penalty for track limit offences. In fairness to Nelson Piquet, he has not yet, as far as we are aware, transgressed, so he's driving sensibly.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very important, especially making, you know, you can be 2-3 tenths, 4 tenths per lap quicker, but if you lose 5 seconds straight away because of track limit, it's better to save the tires and drive accordingly with the rules.
So there you've got the race leader, Loris Spinelli, who will be in soon to give way to Max Wearing, because we've got just under 3 minutes of the pit window remaining as he accelerates now down towards turn 15. Road plunges away and then starts to climb up the other side. He will do one more lap. Yeah. So 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Yeah, there's time for one more lap before the window shuts, and over the timing line goes Spinelli now. So as he heads into turn 1, back to the pit lane we shall go for Wayne Taylor Racing. Thomas Long out of his car with Marietta.
Thomas, could you give us a sense of how track conditions feel this afternoon? Because the weather has changed since yesterday.
Yeah, it's been actually very good out there. Our Wayne Taylor Racing team made a setup change before the race. It made all the difference. We had great balance in the car. With the sun coming down, very, very difficult to see through turn 4 and 13. So a lot of traffic, really close racing, a lot of fun.
And obviously this is a very emotive weekend for your co-driver, Ashton. How would you describe what she has achieved in Super Trofeo?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, she has come such a long way in 4 years. I'm so proud of her. Her performance coming, top 3 in the championship this year in the North American side has just been incredible. She's going to be doing great things coming in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marietta, thanks. We've been looking at a really good fight on track between Nelson Piquet, Dario Capitanio and Loris Spinelli, who is desperately keen to get past them because he's being held up. Piquet and Capitanio battling for position. They're in their second stint. And there's another penalty coming as Spinelli tries to get up the inside there of Capitanio. The next penalty is going the way of the Daria Tribodini car. Again, it is for track limit abuses, but Spinelli, he's going to come into the pits this time, but he's lost time on this lap because of the traffic. So Loris Spinelli comes in, but as we expected, a really impressive, really exciting stint to watch.
Yeah, very impressive. Every time he drives the car, he shows how quick he is and what difference he can make with his car. But it's a pity that he lost. They should have stopped him 1 lap earlier. Honestly, it was not 1 lap doesn't change the world, but at least he was saving a few tenths or 1 second, because I saw the split and he lost 1 second in the last lap. And sometimes it's better to stop 1 lap earlier that keep going and losing time.
So he helps to strap in Max Wearing. Max, in fairness, has got faster. I'm not saying he's at Loris Spinelli pace, but he's come on a lot in the 2 seasons he's been racing Lamborghinis.
Absolutely, he improved incredibly from last year to this year, also in terms of pace, but also in terms of mistakes that he did during the race. He was using, the brain more, and he was understanding where to fight and when to fight, which obviously generate 9 victories out of 12 races.
Yeah. Exactly so. Well, there is Nelson Piquet charging on. The pit window is now closed, so at the end of the next lap we'll have a proper idea of the order. 54 there is Milan Tikens. Now Tikens took over from Ezio Moretti and is ahead because of a 3 second shorter pit stop than Piquet, but they were quite a long way back, so it's been a good stop, seemingly, from 54, the team Target racing car. There, down the pit road goes Max Wearing, so that should keep him in the lead of the race.
Yes, easy.
By some margin, look at that. There's the pack behind. So Max Wearing is the leader. It is in second place Milan Tikens, Nelson Piquet third, Dario Capitanio fourth. But Capitanio is dropping back ever so slightly from Piquet. And at the next timing point, we'll get an idea of a gap. There also rejoining is 66. That's Bronek Formanek. That's the position, but Formanek, who is a Pro-Am, falling back. He will lead the Pro-Am competition, but he's just been shuffled back in the order a bit.
Yes, now I think Wearing will manage the race. For sure, try to stay away from track limit, and we will see the fight for the podium.
That's Capitanio getting up past Bronek Formanek as well. Let's head back down to the pit lane and join Marietta again.
Very unfortunate what happened today to car 101, the Super Trofeo North America Pro car winner. Danny, could you tell us what happened from your perspective?
I don't know. I went to do my consolation lap and they told us we were having to start last place out of the blue without telling us, after qualifying. Had an okay start, tried to keep it safe. Did a couple of good passes. Got hit by the 83 car, the pink car. Got hit going into turn 14 and blew the right rear. So, yeah, I had to come in, do a pit stop. We're a lap down, almost. Luckily, the team did a fantastic job changing the tire. We didn't go a lap down and had really good pace. I'm not sure compared to the leaders, but at a point, I was one of the fastest cars on the track. So it's just really unfortunate. A great season to have something like this. It's just terrible, really. And yeah, I'm sorry for the team. I really couldn't do anything. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and got destroyed. So we'll see what we can do in race 2. Kyle's in the car now. The car feels pretty good, so hopefully he can make it up some places. If not, again, we got tomorrow and we'll go with everything we got.
Thank you very much.
And very disappointed, Danny Formal, as you can tell, but Kyle Marcelli at the wheel of the car is running in 12th place, which is 9th in class, so they're going to score points, and he might gain before the end. So Kyle Marcelli certainly pushing on, and you know, he can make some progress before the end. So yeah, they might not be able to win the grand finals, but they're not completely out of the game. So I know they only want to win. Nobody remembers who comes second or third in the grand finals, but they've got good pace. Another penalty has just gone the way, as you saw on the timing screens graphic, from Pietro Parolini, Paolo Bilieri's car. 5 seconds for track limit abuses. Max Wearing leading by 8.9 seconds. So that's a big, big margin that Loris Spinelli has given him.
Yeah, it's a big gap, and as you can see, he's driving really cautious. He's trying to be smooth as possible, and save the tire for the end of the race, especially if maybe a safety car can appear. I see a very good race from Patrick Ujala, because he is now back to 9th position, which is quite impressive for last on the grid. And his pace is also really strong.
Yeah, Kujala has just quietly got on with the job here, hasn't he? Picked his way through the traffic. Ahead of him is Gianni Tarino, who's got a penalty. Ahead of Tarino is Ciglia, who's got a penalty. Ahead of him is Fomanek, who's got a penalty. Ahead of him is Daria, who's got a penalty. So he's going to gain some ground here.
I believe so. I believe so, yes. And the race is not over yet, because you have 15 minutes to go.
Way out wide there goes Milan Tikens. Makes a mistake coming through, and another penalty going the way of Bronek Fomanek. 0.6 of a second being added for being short on the pit stop time.
Yes, absolutely. Turn 1, as we said, is really tough breaking point, because it's downhill and it's very easy to make mistake.
Yeah, and there Piquet has caught right up onto the tail of Tikens, but with all due respect, Nelson Piquet, Grand Prix driver, you would expect him to be able to get past the much less experienced Milan Tikens, but Tikens is doing a really good job of defending.
Yes, it is, and the level of the car is all the same, and when you have this kind of competition, it's very difficult to make the difference, as we see.
And while they're battling, they are closing on Max Wearing. Max Wearing's last lap was a 1:45 and a 1:43.9 for Milan Tikens. So they're closing. They've got 14 and a half minutes to make up 7.8 seconds. It's going to be interesting to see what that gap is come the end of, firstly, this next lap, but then certainly the end of the race, as Tikens feels the pressure from Piquet, and behind, Capitanio feels the pressure from Jean-Luc Daria.
Yeah, I see that Tikens is struggling a lot with the car at the moment. He's pushing hard. I don't know if he's pushing too hard, or the car is, you know, the tire consumption is very high on his car, but I see him really struggling to stop the car.
Which perhaps is also part of why he made that mistake down at turn 1, and he's got, as I say, one of the most decorated drivers, Nelson Piquet, right there behind him, coming over the timing line down towards turn 1. Road plunges downhill, then you've got to slow the car, turn right again. This is turn 2, and then the almost hairpin, turn 3. Down through the gears, second gear, turn, release the lock, switch to the left up through turn 4, third gear, short straight. But if anything, Tikens has just pulled away a little bit there.
Yes, we see that the style of Piquet is really smooth. You see that he's not making any mistake, while Tikens is driving really hard, and you see that this car is it's going sideways everywhere. I think by the end of the race, if you drive smooth, you will have more tires to manage. Less, you know, you have to be less aggressive with the tires. So it's going to be interesting in the next 5-6 laps.
Robert Vandenberg, who is a long way down, admittedly, but a 5-second penalty for track limit abuses. And Tikens again struggling to get that car to bite and to turn in. Nelson Piquet closing. But then, as the power comes down, so the car of Milan Tikens ahead is just able to edge away. The gap last time was only down by 1/10 of a second. So now that Max Wearing is settling himself in, so he's being able to maintain the gap.
I think so. I think so. That Wearing is taking it easy, and he doesn't want to make any mistake. This is the 9-1, I believe.
Yeah, that's Paolo Bilieri down the pit lane. There is 61. Max Wearing goes through. Oh, the gap is down, 6.9 seconds. So, yeah, he's lost a little bit of time. Now, He only has to win by 1,000th of a second, but you would like as big a gap as you could have. He doesn't want to be caught by those behind. Bilieri's out of the race. And he's not in a good state by the look of it. I wonder whether he's had some fumes or something, because he was wiping his eyes and seemed...
Yeah, I don't know if it's too hot in the car, or they had issue on something, or it's just too tight. But yes, that didn't look really well. But I think all the mechanics and the medical crew going to pick him up.
Luke Barkley, 5-second penalty for track limit offences. Yes, something in his eyes, almost like a fire extinguisher had gone off in the car or something. But anyway, we wish him well. Now, 27 is being given another 5-second penalty. That's the Massimo Cilia Lewis Williamson car. So Marco was making the point earlier, you've got to be careful because the penalties keep on coming and they get more and more draconian. So 2 5-second penalties now for number 27, the Pro-Am Europe champions, and a slow car there being reeled in by Billy Johnson. It's Patrick Kujala, I think, who's
yes.
Yeah, slightly offline.
I don't know what's happened. I think he lost 2 places.
Yeah, so he's dropped a long way back.
Yeah. I don't know if he had a contact or issue something, but yeah, now he's in 10th position.
Yeah.
11th.
And it's happened on this lap by the look of it, so we'll see what the lap time is and therefore how much time it has cost him. It could have been tapped into a spin, I guess, as he was through the traffic. Max Wearing is leading by 6.7 seconds. It's come down by another 8/10. There's the fight for second and third. Milan Tikens ahead of Nelson Piquet. But Piquet just can't find a way past him. He's shadowing him, but he's not able to make that move. Another penalty is coming now. It is for 188. That's a second penalty for Gianni Taurino. So second 5-second penalty for him. The grid, you heard Danny Formal saying we were told to start at the back, don't know why. Well, all that was to do with track limit offences and people losing lap times, and it was quite a long time before a grid could be published. And again, track limits are a big, big talking point with the pro drivers on track. The race order is certainly going to be affected by them, and it will take a little bit of unravelling at the very end. But Max Wearing, for the moment, looking good up front. 9.5 minutes to go, 6.7 seconds the margin. Coming down, but will it come down by enough?
Yeah, it's coming down really slowly, honestly. I think he's managing the race at the moment. And but we see the 101 that we saw before, Kyle Marcelli car from Wayne Taylor is doing a great job because they are back in 6th position. We remember that they were nearly a lap down during the safety car procedure at the beginning of the race.
And others ahead have got penalties, so they could gain further ground. You're looking at Milan Tikens. Marzio Moretti, who did the opening stint in that car, is with Marietta.
Moretti did a brilliant first stint, and now Milan seems to be continuing that very strong form.
Yes, I tried to give the best car possible to my teammate because we know it's going to be challenging. We know the Bonaldi car is first, so I managed the car, managed the tires, and do no track limits. So Milan now can push and get the best result possible. So it is a difficult race because our opponents are very strong from all over the world. And yes, we see what result we can take home.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Thank you.
Pleasure, thanks.
Marzio Moretti, another of the Lamborghini Young Driver Programme members, came from Italian Formula 4 through Carrera Cup Italy. He was 4th in that last year, switching brands for this season. There's the car that he was driving, which is now another half a second closer to Max Wearing, but fending off Nelson Piquet. They're in 3rd place. Piquet, remember, has an extra point for pole position, which is potentially going to be very important come the end of tomorrow. Fastest lap of the race was done by Loris Spinelli early on. 8 minutes are on the clock. Now, going back to Marco Mappelli's point about Kyle Marcelli, yes, he is 6th, but he is 16 seconds behind Jean-Luc Daria. So even allowing for Daria's penalty, he's got a lot of ground to make up. It's not going to be easy, I don't think, to improve on that.
No, I don't think so. I think also the team of Dauria informed him to stay calm with the track limit, to be careful, because if he takes another penalty, it's not going to be easy to keep the 5th position.
And there, Dario Capitanio is ahead of Jean-Luc Daria. Now, if those two keep squabbling and hold each other up, it might just enable Marcelli to get a fraction nearer, but his lap times actually aren't that good relative to these two. It could be that he's got traffic, we're not seeing it, but it might be that he's got a back marker or has just had to get through some traffic, and that's cost him a little bit of ground. 7 minutes to go then. Max Weering, the European Pro Champion, leading the way. And 5.6 seconds ahead of Milan Tikins he is now, so that gap is coming down.
Yeah, it's coming down. In the last few laps it's coming down half a second per lap, so they might not have enough time to catch him. But and we don't know if Weering is pushing hard or not.
True.
So at the moment it's interesting to see what's happening in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
And the top three, as far as we are aware, are penalty-free. Fourth place, Capitano, is penalty-free, but Daria has a penalty. And there is another penalised car, that of Gianna Tarino, ahead of Patrick Kujala now, and that is for 10th and 11th places. But Kujala fights back on the inside line. Patrick Kujala back through on the inside line. And as Tarino's car slides a little, Kujala, delayed a couple of laps ago, is on the attack once again.
Yes, we don't know yet what's happening, but I think the car is fine because now he's back on form.
Indeed so, and there, number 153, Jordan Missick going ahead of Bronek Formanek. So Jordan Missick, who had a big accident, you might remember, at last year's World Finals, and became Jordan Missile. He's up into 7th place and goes then ahead of Bronek Formanek. And instantly starts to get away. So Formanek, then Billy Johnson, then Patrick Kujala, then Gianna Tarino. Big battle pack here coming over the brow with just over 5.5 minutes on the clock now. And there you can see Billy Johnson making a look to the inside, but Bronek Formanek in the Pro-Am leading car, keeping him at bay. But Formanek has got a 5-second and a 0.6-second penalty to apply, so he's going to drop down. And Johnson with a good, bold move up the inside, and Kujala very opportunistically follows him through. 2 places lost for Formanek.
Yes, and also the second position in Pro-Am, Ortiz, is also close to the leading Formanek, so it will be interesting also in the Pro-Am class.
And yet more penalties, because we've just had a 5-second penalty given to John Dubetz and Bryson Liu, and also to 150 of Patrick Kujala, and also now Emanuele Colombini and Emanuele Zonzini. They've been given a 5-second penalty, so Kujala making places on the track. 5 seconds are going to be added, he'll drop down again. Oh, hang on, there are more, I think, yes, because more and more lines come up on the message line about penalties. Now number 70 is being given a penalty, that Gerhard Watzinger and Brendan Leach. So number 70, 5-second penalty. The list of penalties is now virtually off the piece of paper we've got, which doesn't really.
And again, the number 6.
Ah, yes, that's another one for Triboni.
Plus.
Yeah, 5 seconds plus 5 seconds. I need a new pen, I think, now. There is...
a new paper.
Yes, there is the back. Jean-Luc Daria at the wheel of the double penalised number 6, looking for a way past Dario Capitano. This is for 4th place. Oh, so close to the inside line there. Thought about it. Door closed. Jean-Luc Daria backs out of it. He's somebody that's really come on over the course of his first season in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He's got much faster as the year has gone on.
This guy improved a lot because it's the first year of racing in the circuit, and he's really gentle, and he understands the car. He drives the car really well. And if he drives also next year, I'm expecting he's driving next year, he will be probably one of the contenders for the championship.
Yeah, Daria is another young driver program representative. Yeah, 188 is being given a 3rd 5-second penalty. Gianna Tarino.
That's quite a lot.
Yes. It's almost not worth coming back tomorrow when you've been given that number of penalties. But it's Gianna Tarino. The irony is that yesterday they lost a North American win because Loris Spinelli picked up a 5-second penalty. Today on his own, Gianno's got 15 seconds worth of penalties.
And honestly, we saw a lot less penalties during the the Lambo Cup and the end racing compared to the young guns that they want to push hard. So.
Well, the race director, the stewards are being kept busy. And now we've got a yellow flag out at turn 8, and there's the reason, because Luke Barkley is in the gravel trap, 123. Yes. We've got just 2.5 minutes of the race to go and a car in the gravel. This could end under the safety car, couldn't it?
Could be, because he's in a bad place, so for sure the race director will go with the safety car procedure.
Well, let's see, because if he can control things under double wave yellows, given how close to the end of the race we are, it's possible. But Luke Barclay looks like he's just run wide out of the corner, and if he can do that, so can anybody else. There's the leader. There is Max Wearing, who is going to come through. There's time for 2 more laps. Over the line he goes. So Max Wearing is the leader. The gap was down to 4.4 seconds last time, so he should have enough in hand. 4.2 is the margin now over Milan Tikans, and then Nelson Piquet in 3rd place. Double yellows at turn 8, so the race is going to be allowed to continue, but under sort of double caution, as it were, to try and give the drivers the opportunity to race elsewhere around the course. So Max Wearing, Marco's already touched on the fact that he's a much improved driver, better pace, fewer mistakes. And this, although the gap has come down, he's still there in charge, but there is 2nd and 3rd. So with a lap to go at the end of this, you can see how much closer Milan Tikans is getting.
Yeah, as we say before, they will go very close to him, but I don't think they will catch him. No, because he's really driving very, very carefully. Wearing.
And like I said earlier on, he only has to win by a tiny, tiny margin. There is Luke Barclay's car being hooked out of the gravel. So there is Piquet, still charging. But from pole position to 3rd, he'll be disappointed with this result, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will, especially for sure. The 2nd place would have been his right position to finish, but at the end, when you're alone and you lose 3 seconds in the pits, also this count, and Marzio and Tweekens have done a really good job and a really good in-lap and out-lap after the pits, and this led them to P2. And you know, racing is it's like this. Sometimes you don't get what you deserve.
So green flag back up at turn 8. The road is clear for one last lap. The margin was 4.2 seconds last time. Marzio Moretti looking on as he sees Max Wearing go through 3 seconds ahead now of Milan Tikans. So the Dutch drivers 1st and 2nd, case of double Dutch this. Then in 3rd place you've got Nelson Piquet, and you can see the big gap to Jean-Luc Daria, who has now got ahead of Dario Capitanio, and look at the margin that he's pulled out already. Daria to Capitanio, 1.3 seconds, but Daria has a penalty to be applied. Now that he's in clear air, though, he's absolutely flying.
He's flying, and I guess also Piquet is a little bit quicker than the Tikans, but obviously behind the cars is difficult to overtake. And what is strange that he never tried to overtake, honestly. We didn't see any movement or any big trying, so for sure Tikans is also going quick because the lap time is it's really good.
So Nelson Piquet banking points. Max Wearing, then the race leader. Another penalty being applied for number 146, which is a 2nd penalty to Bryson Liu, Pro-Am North America champion. So he's got a 5 and a 5 to be applied. It'll take quite a while to get a confirmed result. But one thing that isn't in jeopardy is a win for Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli. Now number 20 being given another 5-second penalty. That's a 2nd one for that car. But Max Wearing has done a very good, solid job in this stint. He's going to bring the car home ahead. Yes, he's being caught by Milan Tikans and Nelson Piquet, but he's got enough of a cushion in hand. And now a 5-second penalty for Tikans has just been applied.
Here we are.
Milan Tikans in 2nd on the road, 5-second penalty. So Nelson Piquet is going to take 2nd place. Any more lurking in the system? There's the checkered flag. It's going to be a race win for Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli in the 1st race in the Lamborghini Grand Finals for the pros and the Pro-Ams. 2nd over the line, Milan Tikans and Marzio Moretti, but that's going to drop them behind Nelson Piquet. Then the Jean-Luc Daria, but he's got a penalty, 2 penalties.
10 seconds,
he's got 10. So it'll put Milan Tikans down to 3rd behind Piquet, won't it?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, just lose one place.
Well, he lose 1 place, and Marcelli was very close to get the position to Daria.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll confirm the result in due course, but reflect on the teamwork of Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing, because that was a great job. There's the Pro-Am winner, just quickly to talk over the line, Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozzo. But yeah, Loris Spinelli and Max Wearing and the Bonaldi team, which is one of the most experienced squads in Super Trofeo racing. Perfect job.
Yes, Bonaldi team is very experienced. The crew is it's really professional, and they've been in the Super Trofeo since the beginning of the Super Trofeo. So I think they show this year with Loris and Max what they are capable to do, and they really dominate the championship, and they are dominating also the grand final today.
Just looking at Pro-Am, where Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza have taken the win, and I didn't write down their number with a penalty. Second in the class, Brendan Leach and Gerhard Watzinger, they did get a 5-second penalty. So by my reckoning, that would put up into second in class Antonin Borger and Dani Pedrosa, who we didn't really mention during the race, but on the podium.
We see.
That's cool. Fingers crossed for them, that if we are right with our maths, our
it's
calculations.
Nice because we see also Dani improved a lot compared the beginning of the season. He likes this track. He's a little bit more flow compared maybe other tracks which are stop and go, and he's driving the car more aggressively because he was really gentle on the car, and yes, and also his teammate Borja was really quick. So it's nice to see them improving lap by lap.
And also from Dani Pedrosa's point of view, he has not done every race. He's done Imola, Misano, and then here. So he's not had as much time in the car as many other drivers.
Not so many tests. So we see that once a racer, always a racer. So, and especially the level of driving when you are top level of MotoGP driver, it's difficult that you are slow in the car. So.
But it's interesting from Dani Pedrosa that he's elected to come and race in this and learn away from a very bright spotlight, unlike Valentino Rossi, who's gone straight into a GT3 car with lots of attention, whereas Dani's just got on quietly, learned, got a bit quicker, just done it his way.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. But I think also Valentino had a lot of experience with the cars before.
For sure, a lot of testing.
He drove a lot of testing, a lot of driving since the beginning. So he's really he's doing motorbike and racing, car racing at the same level. But Dani was the first experience for him. Yeah, proper experience racing.
Well, they're all smiles. Max Waring and Loris Spinelli and the Bonaldi team. Yet another win. They had 9 together in Super Trofeo Europe, and Loris Spinelli has now had 14 Lamborghini wins this year, if you take Grand Finals and North America and Europe, and excellent teamwork between those two. There is Milan Tikens, who is about to be given the news that you're third, not second. The timing screen's already updated to confirm that for us. So it's third place, and still the penalties are going through the system. So, teams in Parc Fermé. We'll hear no doubt from our victors in a moment or two's time. Big celebrations there for Brian Ortiz. They came oh so close to winning the North America Championship. Were leading until the last 2 laps yesterday and lost the race and lost the championship. But bounced back in style, and big smiles all round there for the Puerto Rican partnership of Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza. Max Waring, who is always smiling. It doesn't matter what the result. There's always a big smile on Max's face. He loves his racing.
Yes, for sure he loves racing. He loves racing with Loris. He's learning a lot, and when you fight for the win consistently every weekend, you have to smile. Otherwise you're not enjoying it.
Well, it is yet another win for Loris Spinelli and for Max Waring, and once more they're with Marietta.
Loris and Max, what you are doing this weekend is just impressive, and what an amazing performance you put in your first stint as well.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled a bit to find my pace at the beginning of the race, and I had a really clean and tough battle with Piquet. I enjoyed really a lot. It was really tough to stay behind for the understeer, but at the end, when I overtook him, I was in the right way for find the best pace. I tried to open as much as possible the cap, and nothing. He finished the job. I'm absolutely happy for that. The car was strong as always, and let's try to do it.
Max, you did get the job done. What was going through your mind during the last laps?
Now, I was getting in the car when Loris did an amazing job. I heard from the team what kind of lap times I had to drive to finish it up on P1. So I did, and I'm really thankful. He did an amazing job again. The team did an amazing job again. The car was fast, and yeah, I had fun. We had to drive safe, but we had to bring it home, and that's what it is.
Fantastic, great.
It's impossible to listen to Max Wearing without smiling yourself, because that enthusiasm comes to you.
Yes, yes.
Delighted driver there, Antonin Borja, who along with Dani Pedrosa comes home for second in Pro-Am. Brendan Leach and Gerhard Watzinger finishing in third with that penalty being applied. So good result for Dani Pedrosa. Now the drivers going to the podium. So Brian Ortiz, Sebastian Carrozza are your Pro-Am victors. Marietta.
And it's all smiles for this duo today, Sebastian and Brian. How are you feeling right now?
It's amazing, really. Being able to win here in the grand finals, it's incredible. It was a pretty hectic start. I kept it mostly clean at the beginning, but Brian got in the car. He was something else. He was so quick going through the field that he definitely found his way to P1.
Brian, talk us through your stint.
It was really fun, but it was tough. I tried to push. We were in the back, so it was a matter of making every lap like a qualifying run, trying to pass as quick as possible every lap, because we had not only Pro-Am cars in front of us, but also Pro cars. So I needed to move and see which one were the guys we were fighting for the win. And I think it was like 2 laps to go. We were able to pass the last one. And it's amazing. It's a very, very difficult field. A lot of pro guys, a lot of good drivers from the Europe. So I'm extremely happy to put Puerto Rico with Seba on top of the podium today.
Fantastic, great job.
Maggio Moretti dashes past on his way to the podium, and happy drivers all round. So Max Wearing there heads to the podium. The VIP lap's about to get underway as you see the road cars go down the pit lane this weekend. A real festival of all things Lamborghini, with hot laps, with the skid experience. But let's just confirm the way they came across the line, and with some penalties applied as well. The result is Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli, the winners from Nelson Piquet. The gap in the end, 2.8 seconds, as Milan Tikens and Maggio Moretti were third. Eduardo Liberati and Dario Capitano fourth, from Jean-Luc Daria and Stefan Tribodini. Carl Marcelli and Danny Formal from flat last to sixth. Great recovery ahead of Aidan Yoder and Jordan Missig. Billy Johnson eighth, Patrick Kuyala ninth, and Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza taking 10th place, with 11th Antonin Borja and Dani Pedrosa, and 12th to be third in Pro-Am, Gerhard Watzinger and Brendan Leach. And all the penalties applied to Gianno Tarino. 17th he falls to in the end, and quite a few hard luck stories. We actually rather missed the fact that we'd lost Amaury Bonduelle, a double race winner within Super Trofeo Europe, but that was a car that made an early pit stop but didn't get to the end, so drama's a big disappointment for the young French driver. So we were looking forward to the Pro and the Pro-Am race. It did not disappoint.
Never disappoint, honestly, especially the grand final when you mix together Europe and USA. And it's always good fun, because you see great fights and big smiles on the face.
And a few hard luck stories as well, but you can see the rigours of that race. A bit of damage there on the front of Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza's car, and we'll have a look at some of the super slow motion shots on the first Pro and Pro-Am race as we wait for the drivers to make their way up to the podium. the podium ceremony is underway, and in Pro-Am, Brendan Leach and Gerhard Watzinger welcome and delighted Dani Pedrosa and Antonin Borca to the podium. And then for the top step, there'll be big, big smiles for Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza, because they step forward, vanquished in the championship, but winning in the first part of the Lamborghini Grand Finals. And great to see the European and North American teams having such enthusiasm as they are on the podium at the end of race 1. So congratulations to Brian Ortiz, to Sebastian Carrozza, the Pro-Am winners in this first part of Lamborghini Grand Final. And the trophies presented by Reuven Moore, the Chief Technical Officer of Lamborghini. Dani Pedrosa's smile is almost on the Max Wearing scale. He is so happy with that podium result. Antonin Borca there as well. Dani Pedrosa, let's hope we see more of in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, as Brian Ortiz looks at his trophy, and you can see that means a lot to him, and he and Sebastian Carrozza can celebrate a victory in this first part of Lamborghini Grand Final weekend in Pro-Am. Trophies in hand, smiles all round, and trophies in the air for the last photographs. A great result for Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza. Now, of course, the car that was rather dominating early on, that of Karol Basch and Bronek Formanek, ending up 20th overall with Bronek's pace, with penalties applied. So, very different situation at the end in Pro-Am compared to what we had at the start.
Yeah, you see that even if the race is only 50 minutes plus 1 lap, you see that can happen, everything can happen till the end. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm really happy for Dani, because we saw at the beginning he was learning and trying to understand, and sometimes he was struggling, but you know, a racer is always a racer, and he's making his way to improve and to be quick, and he already reached the podium, so tomorrow for sure he will be better than today.
Sure. Well, Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza are the winners of Pro-Am. Brian Ortiz and Sebastian Carrozza winning from Dani Pedrosa and Antonin Borca, Gerhard Watzinger and Brendan Leach in third from Ashton Harrison and Tom Long, Damon Ockey and Patrick Liddy ahead of Milan Petelet and Dimitri Kravtsova. Just going back to Dani Pedrosa, I mean, he races on a circuit, on a motorbike, but everything is different in a car. Where you are, how you're not leaning over like you are on a bike, your reference points are different. So the circuit may be a circuit you've raced on, but the discipline, the art of the racing is so different.
It's completely different, and for me it's still incredible on such a little human can drive a MotoGP.
Yes, yeah.
For me it's unbelievable, but besides that, I guess it's two different worlds in terms of how you approach into the corner, how you brake, how much you move. Here you're still, you stand, you sit. Yeah. With the bike you move, how you feel the movement, how you feel the grip. So he has the speed for sure, the feeling of the speed, but everything else is different.
Here is the pro podium, and already there, Milan Tikens and Marzio Moretti for third, Nelson Piquet for second, and now Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli for the Bonaldi Motorsport team. They are on the top step as the winners of the pro competition. For Loris Spinelli, for Max Max Wearing for Bonaldi Motorsports. The Italian national anthem plays as they celebrate a win in this first part of Lamborghini Grand Final weekend. And the trophy is now being presented there to Marzio Moretti and Milan Tikens, with that penalty down to third place. Nelson Piquet at the other end, drinks bottle in hand, cap ready to wear, receives his trophy from Federico Foschini, the Chief of Marketing and Sales for Lamborghini, and the winners' trophies to Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli. Group photograph taken.
All together.
And everybody huddles together, and they're all smiles. Marzio Moretti crowds in from the other end, and honours then to Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli. They are going to be the drivers to beat going into tomorrow's race, that is for sure. It's going to be another fantastic competition, another 50 minutes to enjoy here at the Algarve circuit. They battled on the track, now they battle on the podium. Champagne sprayed mainly over the teams and the families below, but that sets us up really well for part 2 of Grand Final weekend. And so, in the pro category, Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli take honours in race 1, and will be ahead, but only just by 2 points going into tomorrow, because Nelson Piquet gets second and the point for pole position. So, Max Wearing and Loris Spinelli ahead, Nelson Piquet in second, and then Milan Tikens and Marzio Moretti in third. I would query the points there, but for fourth, Edoardo Liberati and Dario Capitanio, Jean-Luc Daria, Stefan Tribodini fifth, and Carl Marcelli, and then co-driver Danny Formal rounding out the top 6. Renewed tomorrow here at the Portimao circuit with the second race for each category, and that will determine our Grand Final champions. Celebrations then will continue, and we've had some great racing today from Marietta Evans in the pits, from Marco Mappelli and David Addison trackside. Thanks for your company. We'll see you again tomorrow when our Grand Final champions will be crowned.